Welcome back to the continued review of Stargate SG-1's 16th episode of the first season, Cor-ai. And clearly 2 episodes were needed because god damn, that episode made me go deep, like deep. And I maybe expanded on these topics. Death penalties, free will or the lack thereof, killing off the gimpy one to the point where it's narrated as he actually did them a favor. And basically just, the whole who's actually responsible, accountable when it comes to war crimes, governments, and, people in power in general. So yes, I expanded like a lot. And what can I say? I have a strong opinion, especially now it's not like the shit ever stopped hitting the fan, but it kind of feels like it's escalating on multiple levels, and from an astrology standpoint, I can tell you why. So if you want to know, call me, or, hit me up on the Instagram account, Let's Review with Layla and You, where we can talk. But Lord have mercy, I don't know how about y'all, but it has been a rough few months. Like, I knew April was gonna be tough, for particularly me, seeing where my Aries is placed and, current transits made to my natal chart, but fuck me, it was not. Which is also the reason why this episode, part 2, took a bit of doing, because, yeah, it has been a roller coaster ride. All the not so fun places, a horror show theme park called my life. I mainly remembered it as an episode that moved me to the point as in it was a beautiful way to show Teal'c was worthy of redemption, even as a war criminal. And I still stand by that. The thing that got me going, though, and yes, it really did get me going, I thought about cutting some shit, and then I thought, well, you already posted it, who gives a fuck? You already transcribed the crap out of it. So no, fuck it, I stand by everything I said. And I always try to clearly, obviously, give my opinion, because it is a review by me, but also invite others to show their opinions, especially most assuredly if your opinion differs from mine. Like I said, I want to understand and learn, and fuck, maybe you can change my mind. I'm open, I'm flexible. We're back for Cor-ai Part 2 because this episode still has some beautiful moments, some funny bits that, especially considering the heavy-duty topics of Part 1, I want to do the episode justice, even though, obviously, evidently, I've had some issues with this episode, especially knowing what I know now, having lived the life I've led, that this episode now became more painted for me, when prior, I really loved this episode for the redemption arc that it provided us so beautifully with for Teal'c, who, yes, is a war criminal, and by not ignoring that fact, if anything, they fully acknowledged it and embraced it. And the way that they concluded the episode, I still do very much appreciate, and beautifully done, kudos, all of it. However, I had to come to the conclusion that this is the second time in 16 episodes that, yes, bless you, portray a character with a disability, but you use it against them in such a way that for the plot to have worked, it wasn't necessary. It only confirmed the ableist mindset that people have of people with disabilities, that they are weak, that they are considered more easily disposable, for they are a hindrance and a burden on society. And for someone who has lived that life to the point that I started to believe that, and it impacted my self-worth, and thus has negatively rippled through my entire life and relationship I've ever had, yes, I think I can unequivocally say that that mindset is very damaging. We should try and fix that and stop using people with disabilities as punchlines or easy solutions, for in doing so, even as fiction, you feed into that ableist mindset that does incredible harm to a lot of different people on a lot of different levels. And as someone who can speak from both personal and professional experience, I do kind of hope that that carries a little weight. And hopefully in starting this podcast, sharing my story, by reviewing episodes like this and highlighting the issues that I have with these kinds of storylines, we at the very least start the conversation, and together we can actively start working on making this world a better place for all of us. I mean, we're all human beings, and our diversity, I will continue stating this, our diversity on all levels is our greatest strength. We can work together to make a world that's safe for every single one of us, and not just one particular race or gender, because they have once upon a time deemed it so. And that is my mission in life, in whatever way, shape, or form. And I really, truly hope that the next 20, 30 years, that is one of the major changes, and that inclusion becomes the norm. What can I say? When I dream big. want to know the part that absolutely now shits me? By using this easy narrative of, yes, Teal'c committed murder, but he kind of sort of, did them a favor narrative that they spun, because I hope, if anything, this episode has highlighted to you that that is what has happened here. Therefore, the very long episode. But the irony of it all is that at the end of the episode, what makes the difference, and spoiler, makes Hanno decide not to execute Teal'c had absolutely nothing to do with the disability of it all, which then only now even more makes me go like, why? Do people share that? This make me wonder, did the writers actually understand what they were doing and agreed that it wasn't a valid argument? And if so, why then use it in the first place? And why not more clearly highlight that it is never a valid argument? If anything, killing off the gimpy one, in my opinion, increases the asshole level, as you attack someone because of a vulnerability that they have no control over, instead of now at the end kind of sort of correcting it, or at least showing that it wasn't relevant to the argument, but in such a subtle way. I again missed it the first time I rewatched this episode, and it wasn't until I vented my frustration in the previous episode, rewatched it again, and was like, wait, in the end, it didn't matter. So then, seeing that it reaffirms for a lot of people who do watch this, the ableist mindset that they have towards people with disabilities or who are differently abled, this should be hashed out more clearly to really drive home the point to people with an ableist mindset, to make them aware that they have an ableist mindset that is harmful. In the end, it needn't have made such an impact. It could have just been a man that Teal'c shot to prevent from having to kill 25 or more people. Why couldn't that suffice? Why did they then have to make it so that he shot a one-legged man, frame it as in he actually did them a favor because by eliminating this person, they now could run faster and maybe, I don't know, survive? That part still stings, and that part I still take issue with. And that is a fabulous episode. And I really wonder how other people see it. Like, do you agree? Do you disagree? Are there more issues that you take with this episode? I do wonder how people look at it from the war criminal redemption arc. Do people agree with that? Or are they like, you're a war criminal, you did horrible deeds, you just need to go away? I can imagine some people, partially myself, agree with that as well. And yet, in this case, I don't know, I think, once again, as I mentioned in a prior review episode, if someone takes responsibility, takes accountability for their own behavior, and actively tries to heal and redeem themselves, I think everyone deserves a second chance. Always. I am opposed to killing, with the rare, psychopathic, sociopathic exceptions. But yeah, that's where I land. And I really wonder where all of you land. I want to hear it all. All opinions are valid to a certain extent, which we are not going to expand on now. Sorry. Back to the point. I'm gonna try, people. Truly. It's Mercury is out of Aries now. So less impulsive, more to the point communicating, thinking on my words before publishing it. Plus, I've been thinking on making shorter reviews, especially with Jupiter now entering Gemini. Our attention spans are gonna be a little less. So maybe a revamp is in the future. I don't know. If you got any ideas, call me. Okay, so let's continue where we left off. We all knew, despite best efforts to garner understanding for Teal'c's position and the possible reasons he could have had to kill Hanno's father, it doesn't change the outcome. Teal'c murdered Hanno's father, so Teal'c is sentenced to death by his own staff weapon the very next day. After this, Carter and O'Neill go back to Earth because O'Neill wants to forcibly remove Teal'c, and forcibly because Teal'c does not agree. Back on Earth, we see that O'Neill is losing his argument with General Hammond, and I do so very much love how General Hammond calls out his own government by now stating that the US is not in the business of interfering in other people's affairs, which understandably, gets some raised eyebrows by Carter and O'Neill. O'Neill even going as far as calling him out, saying, "Since when?" And yes, mic drop. Thank you. Oh yeah, him says that that is not how the current administration operates. And the fact that O'Neill, to his superior officer, actually says, "Since when?" Like, golden. I love it, truly. These scenes, I don't know what to do with it other than love it. For he's not wrong. And for them to be military personnel, acknowledging that, owning that, ooh, love it. O'Neill seems to have just accepted that Teal'c's past is filled with war crimes, and as a soldier himself, admits to doing some pretty nasty things himself. Brave, and a very fair point that he makes in his very tense standoff with Hammond, which then I think means that it's all about context on where you fall on that particular honor spectrum. But also, I cannot get past the fact that it's never okay to hurt someone in anything but instant and necessary self-defense. And yet, like, if you can prevent some shit from happening, yeah, but like, at what point is it preventing and at what point is it an act of war? I know this is not an easy issue to address, and I know it's difficult, and that's why having a moral compass pointing somewhat due north is so fucking important. For when General Hammond argues, and it kind of pissed me off, though it didn't surprise me, that they won't act to save Teal'c because he's not an American, he's not even a citizen from Earth. And I get it, and rightfully so. This also now pisses off O'Neill and Carter, going as far even as O'Neill calling General Hammond out for saying, "I can't believe I'm hearing this from you, sir." I'm sad to say that this is the world that we live in. If you're not a legal citizen of the country, you are referred to, and in this case, genuinely, an alien. And governments can basically say, "Not my circus, not my monkey," as in, "You're not my problem." And the lack of humanity in that, I can say, only makes me feel ashamed to be a part of the human race. Especially if you see what America has done in the last few years, but also now, quite recently, and I think the UN is going to fight it and win because it's a violation of human rights. But they are now going to ship, aka human traffic, asylum seekers, refugees who enter, I think, England, but it's something that they want to try, no doubt, in many, if not all, European countries. Ship asylum seekers and refugees to Rwanda in Africa, where they presumably struck a corrupt deal with one such government, once again just tossing money at the problem that they themselves created. But back to the episode that we were talking about. The fact that General Hammond even tackles that, he's not even a citizen from Earth. So, he's a person. Not only that, he works for you, he fights for you, he puts his life on the line for you. When does someone actually earn your loyalty? I know that lines need to be drawn, and I actually agree with Hammond that it's wrong to send a tactical team to a planet of farmers with crossbows to forcibly remove Teal'c for being on trial and sentenced for a crime he did commit. I am also full on Team Colonel O'Neill in his righteous indignation. Carter now tries a different tactic, saying that, okay, Teal'c might not be an earthly citizen. He at the very least is a valuable source of information. Yes, not such a moral standpoint to take, but, like, again, this whole conversation, I agree with all of them. For when General Hammond calls them out, saying that we do not stop chasing war criminals because they have a change of heart, and no, we do not. Yet, in this case, I do believe that Teal'c does not deserve to die. And I do believe that Teal'c does deserve to be on SG-1 and not locked up somewhere. And O'Neill's vehemence in saying that I too was ordered to do some damn distasteful things, it strikes a chord. For I think many of us tend to forget that when they're our people, we don't view them as war criminals. And yet somehow, no matter how you look at it, war is messy. It's destructive on all sides. And in the country that you're fighting in, you are probably viewed as a war criminal. So who decides who is and who isn't? See what I mean? Like, it's messy. That's why I vote just don't have a war. Focus on creation instead of destruction. But that's me. Have y'all seen that movie Hacksaw Ridge with Andrew Garfield? If not, I highly recommend. It's about the man who was enlisted or who enlisted and then refused, like literally refused to hold a gun. And then he went and fought in the Second World War and he saved so fucking many. That movie made me cry. And it was apparently based on truth. Like, they literally tried to boot him from the army because he refused to hold a weapon, fire a weapon, because he said, I want to go to war to save people and not kill people. Eventually, they let him in after he sued them. And he never killed anyone, ever. And after I discovered that this movie was based on truth, I was like, how is it that I have never heard of this man? Why is he not a global fucking hero? It was a good movie. And it gave me hope that even though the system is a certain way, staying true to who you are, whether that's accepted by the system or not, if it goes against your own moral values and principles, fuck them. You are still a value. You can still be helpful, as he damn sure showed them. It's inspiring. I do like that in the end, General Hammond does acknowledge that he personally wants to allow them to go save Teal'c, but that their policies say otherwise. So I like that even though the answer is no, he does affirm that he cares about Teal'c, and personally he agrees with them, but when you add all the variables up, it doesn't compute. And it gets heated to the point where he even has to yell at O'Neill to back the fuck down. But I think that was the beauty of the episode. We saw many different viewpoints, we heard many different opinions, and on some level I agreed with all of them. Back on Carthago, we see that Teal'c is now getting a paint job, and to lighten the mood a little, to be the woman that drew that paint line under Christopher Judd's pec while he was conversing with Michael. How Christopher kept a straight face, I have no fucking clue. Like, she really, with her thumb, just goes like along that little, well, not little, that pec, and just like, he's not flinching, he's not giggling. But watching it now, even though with all the heaviness of the episode, that still made me laugh. Not so much what they're talking about, for Teal'c now offers his body and his symbiote up for study after his death. And even though he's accepted his death, he still wants to help them in fighting the gold. I love him. Have I mentioned that? And if ever there was perfect timing, when Carter and O'Neill arrive back on the planet, they see that the Byrsa's got some visitors. Hanno, understandably, thinks that O'Neill sold them out, for apparently the Jaffa have learned of their escape routes and they are now all stuck. Hanno realizes when O'Neill helps them that O'Neill was not the one to betray them, so solve that issue in just one scene. I never noticed this before, but their stompy in this next scene doesn't match their actual footsteps, which is a shame, because usually those stompies make me tingle with, trepidation, but still, tingle. It wasn't a little off, it was way off. And once again, Teal'c proves to be a man of his word as he now stabs and kills Shackle. And he did get advance notice, like way in advance. And this time he wasn't even shackled. If you know. I was surprised, though I kind of liked it, that Teal'c even apologizes for stabbing Shackle. And you could say or explain it as in he has ruminated so much on his evil deeds that now again having to kill someone, even though it's in self-defense or defense of the Byrsa, he still feels remorse that he has to kill someone. I like that. That was a nice touch. He ends up getting shot, which Daniel then assesses as bad, adding, "We should get him home. I'm sorry, did we miss the part that we were on trial and he was on death row about to get executed?" Which Teal'c apparently agrees with, because he says no, stands up, hands over his staff weapon, saying to Hanno, "It is midday and I am prepared to accept my punishment." My people, this is what honor and true accountability is. And like I said, this episode solidified my undying love and respect for the character Teal'c. On so many different occasions in this episode, Teal'c was given an out, and again, slightly, one could say suicidally, he continues to pretty much offer up himself on a silver platter and say, "Shoot me." And yet, the fact that he continuously does that, even when he's offered an out, only makes me respect him all the more. Then at the end, when Hanno says to Teal'c, "You would save those who wish to kill you," and having Teal'c answer, "I would save those who deserve to live," and ooh, hot damn. See, that's what I mean about an honorable soldier saving those who deserve to live. That's how you do it. Like, that Hanno then now continues to claim, like, Teal'c is not the same man. And Teal'c even tries to correct him. No, I'm the one, like, I killed your daddy. Honey, go with it, please. Shut up. Like, now I'm with O'Neill. Shush. Taking accountability and then receiving someone's forgiveness, that is such a fucking powerful thing. First, you need to take accountability for someone to actually truly be able to forgive you, and you forgive someone for yourself and not for the other one to absolve them in any way. Reaching that stage, of being able to forgive someone what they did to you, they no longer live rent-free in your brain. And that's why if you're still struggling with anything in your life and it impedes you in whatever way, shape, or form, and you're still waiting for that person to apologize, honey bunny, no, you don't. You need to be able to say, it wasn't okay that this happened to me. I did not deserve that. And then, in whatever way, shape, or form, find a way to forgive them. That is what releases you. The apology helps, yes, immensely, but it's not where the true healing starts. It can help you well on your way, but it's not where the true healing lies. So, and well, that's my personal and professional 2 cents on it, I guess. I, too, on many occasions, have not received an apology or someone taking accountability for harmful behavior. And still, for me to heal, I had to let it go. When someone has died, and you will never, ever, faux show, will get an apology in any way, shape, or form, you still can heal from that. If anything, you should. I recommend, because it makes life a lot easier instead of having to carry around all those burdens weighing you down. And by no means do I intend to belittle the ginormous amount of effort it takes to be able to do that, because, like I said, from personal experience, it can take many years and involve many layers that need to be peeled back one after the other, and they all need their own level of healing, and it can take a shit ton of work and time. But also, again, from personal and professional experience, it really does make your life better and the life of the people around you better, because you can show up more fully and truly as you are, and that in and of itself allows people to form a strong connection, feel a deeper bond. I mean, a friend of 20 years said, "You never told me these things," and I didn't do it on purpose. It was just by the time that I met her as a young adult, I had just stopped speaking out because it hadn't made a lick difference in the past. It only made people, if anything, more annoyed that I wouldn't shut the fuck up, for they had no intention of changing. But she said, "I understand you so much better now." And it pisses me off that you carried that around for so long alone. And I didn't know that you needed to hear that that was not okay. So even after 20 years, our friendship is still growing and deepening and healing for me, too. To now finally have a healthy adult say to me, that was not okay. What happened to you, what was said to you, what was done to you. And I mean, even though it's decades later, having someone say that helps. That's what I've discovered. So yes, I'm now sharing my story more to allow people to get to know me better, and also to directly or indirectly invite them on my healing journey. And through it, I've discovered, at least for the healthy relationships, it has only aided in growing closer and strengthening our bond. So keep sharing your truths, my people. It can only truly help not only yourself, but also others. In conclusion of this very long review episode of the beautiful, though mightily conflicting, 16th episode of Stargate SG-1 Cor-ai, I think you can safely say it gave us some food for thought. For in the end, the reason why Hanno chooses not to execute Teal'c had nothing to do with any of the arguments made throughout the entire episode. It seemed to fully come from seeing Teal'c saving, possibly sacrificing his life to save the lives of people who have openly announced that they are going to kill you before the end of the day. That is the argument that changes Hanno's mind, therefore negating the whole disability arc of it all. And the argument as in, Teal'c did you a favor, that has been prevalent and force-fed to us throughout the episode. So in this way, the writers do kind of redeem themselves in my eyes, but like I said before, they could have made it more obvious by just not entering this into the equation at all, making me once again ask, why would you then have done it in the first place? Then I can nothing but conclude that there still is some ableist mindset going on there too. You know it's not right, you know it's not valid, and still you used it as an easy way to justify it, at least to some degree, as in murdering is bad, but he actually did do them a favor. Sorta. Right? No. Unequivocally no. As I tried to maybe not so tactfully show by saying, well, you can kill that one for that reason, you can kill that one for that reason, and then other reasons, of course, seem valid, because you should just not kill people. People, just FYI. It's not for nothing that it's one of the first, technically, if you ask me, it should have been the first commandment for any and all religions, but I think it's in the top 3 of all of them, right? Thou shalt not kill, or whatever derivative of it that they have owned, claimed, proclaimed, whatever. And something else I noticed, and I gotta ask, was it intentional that in the end Teal'c gets shot in the leg, making him now the limpy gimpy one, and then we're choosing not to kill him? Was that supposed to show the growth of our characters? Or am I now giving the writers a get out of jail free card? I don't know. Maybe, like I said, at some level, I think they knew that it wasn't right, and still, yeah, well, you heard. And therefore, I really wonder what other people think. Do you think I'm exaggerating? Do you think I'm blowing this way out of proportion? Did you think, I didn't even think of that, or I didn't see it like that? Please do share. Also, I really like it that in the end, they once again offer their aid and support in fighting off the gold. But that is again why I was saddened to see that line of Daniel earlier, even when they were still hellbent on putting Teal'c on death row, he offered them the help to learn to defend against the Goa'uld. For they were there not only as invaders and not only to gain something from their travels, but to genuinely reach out and help people. And it's not always that way, and we will get a lot of tension and a lot of people with different opinions in this show, and they do it wonderfully and beautifully and hilariously too. Stargate magic, it really is a thing. Like, Amazon bought the rights to Stargate, and there are talks, and there have been for a while now, of a Stargate reboot. For this show is fucking magical, and on the one hand, I'm not a fan, as you may remember from earlier episodes, I'm not a fan of reboots. On the other hand, more Stargate magic, what is not to love? Especially if you can bring back the OG cast. Just make the storyline better than the Gilmore Girls, because that was just awful. That made me greatly dislike the show, or just realize that it wasn't a very good show to begin with. Unlike Stargate, Stargate's good. The bones are good. Storylines are good. The writing overall is good. The characters, awesome. So we have finally come to the end of the review episode of Stargate SG-1's Cor-ai, but not before celebrating, singing the praises of the writers, the actors, the crew for how they chose to portray this final scene. Seeing Christopher Judge ask Teal'c be forgiven by Hanno, standing tall, tears running down his face, which I only caught the third time I rewatched this episode, and then O'Neill's walking up to him and just not saying anything, for there are literally just no words I think you can say, but then the hand on the shoulder and just that close-up of Christopher Judge, oof, that scene to me said O'Neill non-verbally communicating like, I understand the heavy burden you carry, it's okay, and you need to forgive yourself. Because Teal'c was more than willing to die. He genuinely was ready to die for trying to give at least one person retribution for his evil deeds, and like it comes up many seasons later where again it caught me off guard and it really hit home for me once again that they never forgot who Teal'c was and what his past was, even though he had done so much good. What they did with his character in this show, like I said, it's still the first season. They have tackled some serious topics, and they all did it in such a way, and I'm not easy. Like, you may have noticed, I know myself, I'm not easy. This show so beautifully goes in depth, talks about the difficult topics, owns it, takes accountability, and showcases what true honorable leadership entails. Unlike the schmoes we get stuck with in reality, they abuse their power and not use it to protect and serve, which is pretty much literally in the job description, but they tend to forget. Okay, wrapping it up. Prepping for the next one, Enigma. Once again, great episode. We are introduced to a bunch of new characters. Some you will just instantly forever love. Others you will hate to love and start to love to hate. And then there's this one dude. That dude freaks me the fuck out, always. And he's a grumpy puss in the episode. I don't think we see him smile once. I'm sure the actor himself is just delightful, but there's just something about him, and in considering all the movies that he has been the main character in, which he performs so fucking well that I don't watch them. I think I've seen 1 out of the 6, and that was more than enough for me, thank you. So this is the episode where Schrodinger's cat makes an appearance. It was an episode that made me think on our evolution, on global warming, on environmental disasters. And remember, this was an episode from 20 plus years ago. And look where we are now. Anything, the writers were onto something here, and I really hope we don't get to this point. But I loved this episode for introducing these events, forcing us to think, because I remember this episode really make global warming hit home for me, that if we don't do something, this is where we're gonna end up, people. See, see another reason why Stargate should get rediscovered and heralded for all of its awesome. Because even though it's 25 years ago, it is still fucking relevant. However, that's Enigma. This is Cor-ai, so I hope to see you back here for the next episode. Till then, you know where to find me. For additional reviews and content on a variety of subjects in addition to this franchise, come check out our podcast channel, as well as our Instagram account, Let's Review with Layla and You. For additional in-depth content, as well as provide us with a place for reciprocation where we can all share and exchange our ideas, thoughts, and whatever else we feel like sharing with the world. So come meet up with me, myself, and I, drop a comment, give us a follow, and come share what y'all think. And to truly make this the all-inclusive podcast we set it out to be, come visit us in the RSS community where all our episodes come with a transcript. I do hope to see you there!